Hello and welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 till 9 every morning to help small businesses. You can ask any questions in the comments or use the hashtag QBATE on Twitter. Now, if you need any more advice, please join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. And during this live session, we will be running a poll. So please engage with it, share your thoughts, and I will reveal the results at the end. So now we've got the intro out of the way, please allow me to introduce myself. I'm Carl Reeder, joint chairman of D&T Chartered Accountants. I've acted as a business advisor to thousands of businesses. I've appeared on stage, on national TV and in the national press, helping small businesses. And most recently, I'm the author of Boss It, which I believe is the ultimate guide to either starting or running a small business. But I would say that, wouldn't I? So what I wanted to do today in my intro and to help tee up some questions that you might have is just to talk about the experiences that I'm seeing other businesses are going through during the pandemic, and in particular, what they're doing now to prepare for the next 6 months. Because we're in a really strange situation where we see the experts from a medical perspective saying that the second wave could be so much worse than the first. And whilst there's various theories and ideas about how dramatic the second wave could be, we're certainly in the process of moving into that second wave. And we've seen entire countries locked down as well. France have pretty much locked down for the next month, and looking by the actions of some of the major corporates, it might be locked down right the way through to Christmas. Germany have imposed additional restrictions, and we're going to see this more and more as a trend, not just through Europe, but throughout the world. In the UK, what was originally a three-tier system now seems to be evolving with some deeper restrictions in certain areas and local authorities deciding to place their own restrictions. So it's becoming a very confusing place for us all. And the shouts for an increase in lockdown restrictions, whether it's a circuit breaker restriction or whether it is just a full-blown lockdown, seem to be getting louder and louder. So as business owners, we need to look at what's happening out there. What are other businesses doing? Because there is a strange sense of calm about this from the businesses that I speak to. Whereas when we look back to March, it was the big unknown and the goalposts kept moving. We are today in a position where we kind of know how we got through it last time. So we know the steps that we can take. But I think it's really important that we revisit those fundamentals and be careful of the stuff that we need to be careful of. So the first thing is about making sure that you can pivot quickly. The one thing, in my opinion, that has differentiated the good, the bad, and the ugly during COVID is the ability to pivot. Now, we can take a major high street example of Primark. Primark are a store that we've all come across, we've all heard of, we might have all even shopped there. We see them on our high street, they are a landmark feature. However, online, they're nowhere to be seen. Their business model revolved around footfall. It revolved around people coming into stores, selecting goods, buying them. So during lockdown, their business was decimated, and being such a giant, they were unable to pivot quickly. Now, compare that to some of the smaller businesses that have been able to virtualize their service pretty much overnight. I know of a soft play centre that was able to pivot into becoming a farm shop. I know of a online clothes retail, a clothes distributor for online stores, which was able to pivot to become an online store itself and then become a pop-up store. I've seen some amazing examples of pubs and restaurants becoming takeaways and delivery services. Over the next few months, we might be in a position where we need to pivot again. And how do we do that? How do we make sure that we prepare our business to be able to make these changes? First things first, we need to be very honest with ourselves and very balanced about our SWOT, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What are we good at? What are we bad at? What are the opportunities that could come through the next few months and going forwards? And what are the threats? Now, the threats are pretty clear. We might simply not have customers coming into our physical locations. So we need to look at how we can virtualize what we do. If we've not done it before, start making plans now, because back in February, this whole coronavirus thing seemed like a bit of a distant issue. In fact, I remember when I was writing the manuscript for this, I finished up on 24th of February, and coronavirus was only introduced in the introduction as almost a byproduct of Storm Kiara that was going on, which was the worst weather in the region. And it was something that was a theoretical threat to somebody else, but not to us. Now, I wrote my introduction last, so that was probably written in the third or fourth week in February. How much has changed since then? I actually had to go back and write a new chapter on COVID. So we're in the very fortunate position that we actually have noticed that this is going to happen. So we need to do our SWOT. We need to identify what are the opportunities that we can take advantage of. We can then start planning for those. We can make sure that we put the nuts and bolts in place within our business to be able to flick a switch, to be able to move to maybe an online subscription business, maybe an online retailer, maybe delivering rather than expecting customers to come in. These are the kind of things that we need to be doing as contingency planning, as being mindful of what's going on. But the most important thing when it comes to external factors is, yes, we need to be mindful of the threats. We need to be mindful of the fact that things will be out of our control, but we need to focus on what we can control rather than what we can't control. We can sit there and consume all of the media that's out there. We can sit there and just absorb the negativity and the fear mongering. But actually, it's within our strength to do as well as we can, because it's really important to remember, and this is a note that I'll just leave you with during this introduction. It's really important to remember that so many businesses have actually flourished during lockdown. Now, that might seem like madness to you, but there are businesses repaying their furlough because they've done far better than they had projected to. There are businesses that haven't had to rely on government support. And there are new businesses and new ideas, new opportunities that have come through from this. In fact, backstage before this session, let me share with you a little secret. I was speaking to the video producer, and he was just saying about how video production is a really key service at the moment. It's something people are looking for. There will be winners and losers. And if your current offering is likely to be a loser, look at the steps that you can take to turn that round into being a winner. Now, that's enough about my intro. It's been great to share those thoughts with you, but I'm now going to dive into the questions. And the first one is from Timothy, who sent this in by Twitter. So, Timothy, thank you so much. According to me, what are the key elements in a successful elevator pitch? So, it's a really good question. And I do answer it in my book in detail with some worked examples. But let me share with you just what I see as a great elevator pitch. Because an elevator pitch is often, for me, it's often overscripted and designed as a one-size-fits-all. Now, there's various disputes over what is an elevator pitch versus an intro pitch and so on and so forth. But I'm not going to get into that semantics. I know what you're trying to do, which is how do you summarize your business as quickly and succinctly as possible, but giving the listener the most opportunity of doing business with you. So I don't know what you do, Timothy, but I'm just going to make a guess. I'm going to make a guess that you're a decorator. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but let's run with this for the moment. If you're a decorator, you could stand up in a meeting room, or you could open a conversation at a networking event and say, yeah, I'm a painter and decorator and I paint walls. Now, that's really poor, isn't it? Because you're only sharing what you do. You're not sharing any benefits. You're not sharing any anything unique or any hook about what you do. You're not really engaging people to speak with you. And in fact, if you were to open up a conversation with that kind of, yeah, I'm a painter and decorator, or, similarly, yeah, I'm an architect, or yeah, I'm whatever it is you do, I can guarantee that unless you save lives or you star in a major film, people aren't going to be too interested. So instead, what you need to do is you need to look at what your unique selling proposition is. What is it about you that sets you apart from your competition? So, Timothy, I'm going to presume that you are the one painter and decorator who goes into someone's house and rather than going in with muddy boots, you'll put on the little plastic things. You will then make sure the job's done on time, it's done really perfectly, you'll clean up after yourself, and you know what? You won't put your radio on, you'll ask me what music I want to listen to, and you won't smoke outside, so you won't stink a cigarette smoke throughout my house. I'm going to presume, Timothy, that you are that person, that magical decorator that we are all looking for. So within that, once you've identified how you set yourself apart from the competition, you've got some great things to insert into your elevator pitch. Now, I'm not a huge believer of the nonsense that's out there, that you go into a room and you say, I transform working spaces to make them magical, and all of this fluff, because people want to get to the core of what you do. And quite frankly, Timothy, if you came up to me and said some nonsense like that, I transform workspaces to elevate the feng shui, I'll say, come on, what do you do? And it just, you leave yourself open to that balloon being popped. But if you can keep it to something that's all about practically what you do, how you have benefits, how you can de-risk the purchase, it's amazing. So, hi, my name's Timothy. I'm a painter and decorator, but I'm not a normal one. I make sure that I come in, I leave no mess whatsoever. There's 110% money back guarantee, and I've got 99.9% customer satisfaction on Trustpilot. That then becomes a no-brainer. So, Timothy, I hope that helps you think. Now, I'm sure you're not a painter and decorator. I've picked a random occupation there. But whatever it is you do, if it's IT consultancy, if you're an architect, if you're a builder, if you're a retailer, whatever it is you do, I'm sure that you can look at the uniqueness of what you do and bring that into your elevator pitch, keeping it real. Don't give all this nonsense, but let's say you're an accountant. Don't give this nonsense, but I help people save money and make them millions in a bank account, because people say, yeah, how do you do that? I'm an accountant. Instead, focus on the benefits, but with some plain English behind what you do, and you will make it compelling. Isabella, thank you so much for your Instagram DM. Hi, Carl. Can you share some tips to be productive at writing? I'm going to start a blog and it will be on a specific topic. My ultimate aim is to monetize the blog through affiliate partnerships and Google AdSense. Any advice on this is much appreciated. So, Isabella, I think that's, again, a topic that I'm talking about a whole lot. I'm going to share a few of my thoughts and a few of my experiences on this. But if I can be brutally honest, my writing has never been truly profitable. It's been monetized, but it's never been truly profitable. And I think that we need to weigh up before we dive full blast into something, what the true benefits on the time investment are and how much we can get back. And perhaps more importantly, how we can leverage it to make more income as well. So if I share very openly and transparently how I work, my content creation, the books that I write, I probably earn about 40, 50p per book sold. Yes, you might see it for 12 quid on Amazon, but I don't earn that, the publishers and Amazon do. When it comes to the content I write for newspapers and so on, I can get paid pence per word. Sometimes I do it on an exposure basis, but it's not really about making money. Google AdSense, I've done Google AdSense, I've done affiliate partnerships, and I've earned, I can certainly count the income on one hand, and that's probably in pounds rather than thousands. So I'm being a bit flippant there, but the reality is that the income from Google AdSense and affiliate partnerships is relatively low. And instead, the reason that I use writing to be profitable is to form part of a content marketing web. Now, what I mean by that is that I ultimately work with brands to help them reach small businesses. That's how I get paid. Social media amplification. I help them with their go-to-market strategy for small businesses. I help them on broadcast days and so on and so forth. So the content that I produce, from a general perspective, then help support the conversations that I have with corporates like Mercedes-Benz, Vans, and American Express, and so on. So there is a monetization, and it's fantastic, but it's not from the individual articles themselves. And the challenge that most blogs have when it comes to monetization is that they focus solely and squarely on monetizing that one piece of content. Now, I hate to break it to you, Isabella, but unless you're Malcolm Gladwell or Seth Godin or one of these other fantastic thought leaders, you're not going to earn either massive views or massive income from a single blog post. So instead, have a think about what your end goal could be. We could call it the second bounce of the ball. The first bounce of the ball in this situation would be what you could earn from a blog, but the second bounce is what it could bring. And when it comes to sports, if you play cricket or football or anything like that, people talk about chasing after where the ball's going to end up rather than where it's going to first bounce. And in this situation, I think you really need to think about what the long-term view is and how you can monetize the long-term view rather than the interim steps. So you did ask, how can I share some tips to be productive at writing? Now, in my experience, every piece is different. Every writer is different. From when I've spoken to other writers, there's different ways to come up with inspiration and to come up with content. I typically like to break any piece down into sections. They say the best way to eat an elephant is to start with the first bite. I'm sure that's probably not the phrase, but I'm going to run with it anyway. You need to get started. I would, if it was a 1,000-word article, I'd break it down to 4 lots of 250 or 3 lots of roughly 300. If it's a book, you just rinse and repeat. You break it down to chapters. You then break the chapters down into sections. You then break the sections down into subsections. Everyone has their own style, though. Some people like to overplan. Some people just like it to come from the heart. Really, it's what works for you, and you will only find that out through, unfortunately, just tapping on the keyboard and writing. Paul, thank you for your Twitter DM. I talked about doing a SWOT analysis. Yes, I did. I'm glad someone's listening. Paul, for a self-employed individual, what would your advice be around the analysis? What are the factors or parameters to focus on? So just as a refresher, and again, SWOT analyses are covered within my book, but a SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a very old management model, but within the strengths, you focus on what you're good at. Within the weaknesses, what you're bad at. Within the opportunities that you have, and the threats, the stuff that's out there that could affect you. Now, it's set out as a matrix. So you have strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And within that matrix, the top bit, the strengths and weaknesses, are internal. So they are things that you can control. The second bit, opportunities and threats, is external. And this is the stuff like legislation change. This is like coronavirus. It's stuff that's outside your control, but you can work out how you deal with it. So you need that. They are the bits that you fill in. You need to focus on your strengths. You need to play to them. You need to patch up your weaknesses rather than being obsessed and consumed by them. But with opportunities and threats, have a look, and again, it's in my book, at what's called pestle analysis: political, economical, societal, technological, legal, and economic. And there's also environmental. There's other ways of breaking this down. This isn't as robust as SWOT, but that model helps you think about the stuff that you could put into your opportunities and threats. But then you need to consider your opportunities carefully, and certainly at the moment, and be mindful of, but not consumed by, your threats. Brendan, thank you for your Facebook message. You've recently started a side hustle of consulting alongside your day job. Congratulations. I've always been the person who works in the background, so I find it very hard to talk and pitch my ideas to prospective clients. Any advice how to get over this fear of public speaking? So this is always a difficult question for me to answer, but it's a very valid question. So the challenge I had, Brendan, is that public speaking comes fairly naturally to me. And what I wouldn't want to do is to either disregard your fears or appear dismissive, or perhaps not to identify any of the critical issues. But I didn't always find public speaking easy, and there were moments that went really badly. So I've had to find and establish strategies myself. So I will share them, but I will caveat it that I am, I guess, a natural at public speaking in that I enjoy doing it, and my experiences may not be the same as everyone else's. So Brendan, if you could please bear that caveat in mind. For me, when it comes to public speaking, the most important thing is to be comfortable within your own skin, and to appreciate that the audience want to hear the stuff that you're saying. That is the most important thing. And often when it comes to public speaking, our fears are around, what if the audience doesn't like me? What if the audience notices that I trip up on something and get something wrong? What if the audience asks me a really tricky question I don't know the answer to? Now, the reality is they're there to speak to you, or they're there to listen to you because you know your stuff. You know more than the audience. And if there's something you don't know, it's okay not to say it. If you forget to say something in a presentation, the audience didn't know that you were going to say it in the first place and probably don't care that you were going to say it in the first place. So having that comfort that actually a conversation on stage or in a meeting room is just the same as a conversation with a friend over coffee helps you be your authentic self and it helps you bring it out. Now, when it comes to pitching, that's a very specific area of public speaking, presenting. And with that, I think that you need to be able to sell your service or if you're a product business, your product, or you say you're a consulting business, you need to sell your service to yourself before you can sell it to someone else. So you need to have true appreciation and passion for the value that you can bring to a business. And when you've got that, it comes easy because it's all that you want to talk about. You're bursting to tell people. And if that passion's not there, that's what you need to find. You need to tap into why people do business with you, why you are the number one person they should speak to. Um, but ultimately, one of these things is it comes about through experience as well. And just keep doing it, doing it, doing it. Looking back, what worked, what didn't, tweaking, adjusting, and moving forwards. So, Brendan, I'm sorry that I can't give you any specific, I guess, coping mechanisms from the fear section in your last statement, because that's not something that I'm a specialist in and not something I've had too much personal experience of. But I think that just being comfortable in your own skin will go a whole way towards helping you present and introduce yourself with confidence. Now, Darcy has sent a message in by Instagram DM. Darcy, thank you so much. Any advice about how I can go for validating my business idea before investing more time and money into it? I've read and heard about finding a product market fit, but I'm unsure of how to do it practically. Darcy, again, great question. It sounds like this is the Bible. It really is, because I give some practical examples in here, because this is where most business owners go wrong. But I'm going to machine gun my way through this, and because we've got a few questions queued up. So you need to ask the outside world, not your friends and family. You can think about running a focus group, maybe lay on a dinner at a local pub. Yeah, we can't really do that in certain areas now and mixing households. So it's trickier than it used to be. So it might need to be a Zoom dinner where you perhaps send them a Just Eat voucher. But have a focus group of unrelated people to you where you can discuss your product and really get under the skin of any problems that they might have. You can look at footfall. If you're a retail business, go out of the clicker and click how many people walk past. You need to look at similar businesses and observe their traffic, their engagement online. You need to look at very broadly what people are saying they've purchased to try and retro engineer what the average product value, the average purchase value is. There's all of these things that you can do, but it's about having your ears to the ground and your eyes open. It's about soaking up what's going on in the outside world with your competitors. It's about soaking up what's going on generally in society. And you can never do too much research. Yeah, but we've got a smashing thing, Darcy, in that we've got the world's biggest encyclopedia, the world's biggest newspaper, the world's biggest TV stations on at the tip of our fingers on Google. So from that perspective, the information is out there. We're not shooting anywhere near as blind as we used to. But you need to do the practical stuff of wearing out your shoe leather, meeting people as much as you can in a socially distanced world, of seeing what's going on, listening to what's going on. That's how you find out whether you've got product market fit. It's certainly not speaking to your friends and your family who all say that you've got a great business, because they don't want to upset you. I hate to be brutally honest like that, but no potential business owner speaks to their mum and their mum tells them it's a bad idea. Normally it's pat on the back, well done, yeah, that's great, I'd be a customer, but then the money never comes and you never are able to pay your mortgage or your rent or your electricity bill with best wishes. So it's really, I'm delighted you're looking to sanity check your product market fit and do as much of it as you can. It's certainly not wasted time. Lynn Marie, I think that's how you pronounce your name, from Facebook Live. Is it good to be advertising through Checker Trade? There are lots of people that are afraid to let you in their house. So I don't know what you do, but I think that any online validation and social proof that you can get is worthwhile. And we're moving as a society, we're moving towards social proof and justification of businesses, of what they do. And people are looking for evidence that they're going to be okay. And I don't know whether it's because of the increase of fraud or what wider awareness of it. This stuff might have happened 30 years ago. There's wider awareness of it. I don't know if it's because of how easy it is for identity theft and the dark web and so on. Whatever it is that's happened from a big picture society perspective, we are all looking for more social proof in what we do and what we purchase. And a great example of this is if you buy something from Amazon. It's extremely unlikely that you buy it if it's got a 1 or 2 star review. You look for high reviews. So any online portals, whether it is a review site, whether it's even Google or a Facebook page, it's vital that you're not only present, but you help facilitate as best as possible a positive voice about who you are, what you do, and how you do it. Now, that can come from your existing customers. You could look to, you could ask them to do reviews. You could promote the fact that you're open to reviews. You could engage productively on reviews as well. Things like this really help potential buyers see what you're all about. And then the last one, because we are just about to wrap up, Kai from Twitter DM, is finding a mentor necessary for my career? What are the benefits and how do I find someone who can be my mentor? I don't believe it's necessary, but it is fantastic to have. I've got a number of mentors, and I think that just being open to receiving a mentor is the first way to find one. When you're open to the possibility of having a mentor, then you will find that you naturally gravitate towards people who could be. So I would say there's huge benefits for both sides of the equation as well. Now, I need to wrap that one up, Kai, but I'm more than happy to share more of that on social media if you'd like. So drop me a DM. I'm available on all social media platforms at Carl Reader, and I'll happily elaborate on that. Now, the poll results are in. I know it's the only reason that you've clung on to this whole episode is to hear the poll results. Have you prepared your business for the next 6 months? 37% of you said yes, 63% of you said no, 63% of you need to pull your finger out because it's going to be tough. I hate to be so blunt, but you need to prepare for the next 6 months. Now, any questions? Please get in touch with the QuickBooks support team on Facebook. You can also find me. I'm on social media at Carl Reader at all platforms. You can find my book at http://carl.2/book. It's also at WH Smith's, Waterstones, Blackwell's, all of the major online stores, Amazon as well. So you can find it everywhere. Coming up on Ask the Expert on Monday is Luke Bath. He's a partner at Alliotz within their outsourcing and corporate finance teams. Luke helps clients to leverage technology to improve the quality and access to financial information to grow their business. So it's just a reminder, if you need any more advice, please join the official Intuit's QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. Have a fantastic weekend.